Good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another day of learning, relearning, unlearning. Great evening. I trust we are doing good. Happy Sunday. We are just 36 on the call. Where are our classmates? Please let's go into our various groups and beckon and everyone. We are inching really close, really, really close to the end of this cohort. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning, so says a popular book. So, as we are gradually winding down, it's good that we do not drop the ball. Let's keep the momentum and ensure our people are in class. Thank you. I see a lot of us coming, dropping our names, and our city political parties. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. Please bring your classmates in so that we can start in earnest. It's always good when we start early. Whilst we are pulling our classmates in, I will take a minute to go through our facilitator's profile. Today we'll be looking at leadership. Many of us say that leadership is a concept, but today we'll be looking at leadership as being something more than a concept. Leadership more than a concept. And we have a distinguished fellow who will be walking us through this topic. It's beautiful that when we come together to learn, we let go of all that we have known just so that new information can come in. So today we'll be looking at leadership more than a concept. And to walk us through, we have the present Executive Secretary of the Latif Jakonde Leadership Academy, LJLA, the Executive Secretary of the Latif Jakonde Leadership Academy. For as many of us that do not know, this is an academy that runs and helps to train young leaders in governance. So our facilitator today is none other than Mrs. Aishat Agbaje Okwade. Mrs. Aishat Agbaje Okwade, and she began her illustrious career in 2014 as a legal and administrative assistant at Kimberly Wayne and Diamond Solicitors in London. In 2015, she joined the Hyde Group in London as an accomplished project officer. In the same year, she was honored as one of the promising young beneficiaries of the prestigious King's Trust Enterprise Grant Mentoring and Support Program, after which she served as the account manager at the Challenge in Waterloo, London, where she fostered enduring and impactful relationships with marginalized young people, local authorities, and community organizations. She previously served as the Senior Special Assistant for Development Partnerships and Economic Planning to the Governor of Lagos State. And prior to that, she was a Special Assistant to the former Governor of Kaduna State and an alumna of the Kashim Ibrahim Fellowship. Currently, Aishat is the Executive Secretary of the Lagos State Latif Jakonde Leadership Academy, a notable program dedicated to mentoring the next generation of exceptional young Nigerian leaders. She is also an accomplished author, a researcher, with her work on gender equality and public service recognized and discussed at international platforms, including Equality Now. She founded the AA Initiative, a non-for-profit organization dedicated to supporting and integrating orphans and vulnerable children across Nigeria, which has helped over 5,000 individuals to date. Mrs. Aisha Agbaje Okwade is driven by the belief that she represents not just herself, but an entire generation. And she continues to inspire others through her unwavering dedication to social change and community empowerment. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, as I used to say, if our hands are not too tired, let's, in the chat box, welcome our facilitator, Mrs. Aishat Agbaje Okwade, who is here to take us on leadership being more than a concept. Thank you. I see the emojis. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi everyone. Thank you for having me. Hi Adeshola. Thank you for having me. I'm always excited to be here. So thank you all. I hope we've all been having a great Sunday. I'm having a tiring Sunday, but we're here. So hi everyone.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you. But it looks like a full house today. Okay, so yes, Adeshola, I'm ready to start whenever you are.
Oh, yes. So I have done the introduction. Just hand over the virtual lecture to
okay.
you.
Okay, so do you want me to share my screen or you're going to do that?
Would you need help? We can do it on our end, but
yes. Can you kindly do that? Because I'm on two systems right now. I'm on my iPad and also my laptop.
Okay. Lisa, just can you confirm that this can be done? Okay. Sure. All right. Good. Thank you.
Sorry about my dog.
No worries. It's taking a while to load. Okay, we have something on the screen now. Okay.
Okay, so hi everyone. Happy Sunday. So let's just get started. I'll also try to make my discussions quite short today, as I also want to give room for lots and lots of questions and take it from there. So I'll make it quite short as much as possible. So thank you. So I'm just picking up my glasses. Thanks. So let's start. So leadership more than a concept. By the way, I want to tweak the topic a bit. So I hope Electoral College will give me the opportunity to do that for the next cohort to tweak the topic a bit. I'm just speaking to the team. But let's start together. So I'm going to take you through a couple of defining moments today, and where I start by defining what leadership is and also what that looks like. And I must say that as every day goes by, my definition of leadership changes, but the fundamentals do not, right? The fundamentals remain the same. And something I say regularly to our fellows is this. I tell them that Leadership, when they come into the fellowship, they would know the sort of leader they will not necessarily know the sort of leader they want to be, but they'll know the sort of leader they don't want to be, right? Because your journey in leadership is, as things come along, that's how you begin to grow. But when you have the fundamentals, and when the fundamentals are clear, they are able to help you to ensure that you maneuver into the new constraints more effectively. And you're also able to make some really strong judgments that would be definite and would be helpful in the long run. So essentially, that's what that looks like for me. So yes, please go to the next page, please, Lisa. Thank you. How are you, Lisa? Next page. Okay, so defining leadership. So usually when I go through this sort of discussions, I like to usually just go through the theoretical aspect of things. But today I want to take a different perspective to it. And I want to start with the importance of having a mindset shift. Please, next. Lisa, are you there? Thank you. So leadership is not, just give me a moment because I'm also struggling to see Lisa's screen. Sorry, I'm usually more prepared than this. Okay, so let's go. So for me, first and foremost, leadership is not a title or a position. It's a way of life. It's the essence of what we do day to day. And something I say regularly is that you don't necessarily need to be in these grand positions to show that you're a leader. You're a leader right this moment. And I say that even in your family life, some of you are firstborns, some of you are middleborns, some of you are even the head of the family, married, leading, right? And leadership essentially starts from the home life. Leadership starts from what we do at home. So I always make the joke whenever I'm here that if they've put you in your estate committee right now and you're already stealing your estate committee money, then when we make you Nigeria's president, I promise you will end up doing the same, right? So it starts from the small workings, from the small intricate workings of where you are right now, who you are right now. That's where it starts from. And you have to fundamentally ask, who are you? With whatever level of power you have. Who are you with power? What does that look like for you? Leadership is so, so important. Leadership is not a title. It's not limited to a title. It's not limited to a position. It's not limited to those with formal titles. It's for all of us in one way or the other. Whether you like it or not, there's a spirit of the first that you carry. And you being the first, right? Every one of us carry that. You being the first automatically puts you in that position. Whether you're the first person from your political party to join this thing, this conversation, it puts you in a leadership position. Whether you're the first to get to church, whether you're first to get to mosque, or whether you go to a certain church and there was certain mosque and you're trying to get people into your beliefs, they want to ensure that you live by your beliefs first before they come into what you believe. So it's very important that you understand the sense of responsibility that you carry even from the first moment of being a leader, right? So that sense of responsibility is first and foremost important. And that sense of responsibility sees you through a long life or long journey, that starts from the beginning to the end. and you must carry it. So it's not a day job, it's not a moment job, it's a lifelong job. It's a lifelong duty as well. And with leadership, it's important to know that you can't be an effective leader if you don't have a sense of responsibility for others. Something I say is the intricacies of leadership is selflessness, right? Selflessness is important when you are building, when you are developing yourself as a leader, right? Because selflessness and empathy is what allows you to take yourself away from self and recognize what your constituency or what they want or what they expect from you. That's selflessness. And that sense of responsibility and sense of commitment allows you to go back to do the same thing over and over again, as tedious as it may be, even though you don't necessarily enjoy it, or even though you don't necessarily identify it. That's a sense of responsibility. That's a sense of commitment. And that's actually how it is. So you have a sense of responsibility and selflessness in you. That's when you can be an effective leader. So every time I define leadership, I define selflessness. Selflessness is a part of it. It's where the journey starts from. Because it's when you're selfless, you begin to understand that you are not going to put yourself first in every situation, but you're going to put those you are leading first in most situations. And that's how what enables you to be, in essence, effective. So leadership is about impact. I'm more of impact than influence. I'm not necessarily big on influence. I particularly, I always study my leadership skill. And it's fair for me to say I identify that my leadership skill might not necessarily be influence. But though people that work with me or people that are on my team might beg to differ, right? But it's just not a focal point for me. I believe that if you're doing the right thing at all times, people will naturally gravitate towards you. So I'm never out to find influence, but I'm out to be responsible. I'm out to make impact, because there's nothing like leadership without impact, without having or taking in the spirit of excellence at all times. When you do something, you leave it better than the way you found it. That's leadership. That's the essence of it. That's where the roots and everything comes from. That's where it starts from. And it's important that we all, essentially, whatever capacity we are, we live a life of impact, one that is beyond and above us, one that is not just surrounding our being alone, but beyond that. We take away individualism or individuality, right? And bring, capitalize on humanism. So leadership for me is, in essence, about impact, and nothing else matters after that. I study my impact. I've learned that if you feel like, okay, maybe I'm not having that much impact, so how do I know when I'm having an impact? I learned recently that the best way is to count your thank yous. How many thank yous do you get in a day? How many thank yous do your spouse say to you in a day? How many thank yous can you say that someone has said to you in a day? If you can count your thank yous, then you know that you're doing something substantial for the next person. So that's a great way to measure it. And you can start measuring your impact by that amount of thank yous. By how many thank yous does the nearest person next to you say, which is being your spouse or your family member or siblings. And that's how you count your impact. So if you're ever wondering, how does that work? This is one of the mechanisms that one can adopt to ensure that you're able to capitalize on your impact. I've talked about, influence, responsibility, the sense of responsibility. It's so key. And I feel like I'm still going to weigh on it or touch upon it, in subsequent slides, because there's no point you trying to do leadership if you have no sense of responsibility to others. So that's why the sense of responsibility is, for instance, they call you into a meeting, you're supposed to show up for that meeting, but you end up not showing up. That's your like a circle in your approach, and that's really that dampens the entire team, that dampens the entire motivation. So that's you losing your sense of responsibility. And it's important that we need to have a sense of responsibility. I dare to say that if a lot of our leaders have a sense of responsibility to Nigerians as a whole, we might see a different sort of leadership. So a sense of responsibility is super critical in the way we operate with each other. A sense of responsibility to our community, to our family. If you're Yoruba here, one of the proverbs in Yoruba that they say is once you're more let me translate. Remember the child of whom you are, or the family or the lineage where you come from. So that's having a sense of responsibility. And if you go into leadership, big positions, small positions, having that sense of responsibility by all means, you will see that you begin to be an effective leader, one that understands what impact is. And as a result, you start to, so I say it this way. So first of all, leadership is selflessness, sense of responsibility, impact. Impact is even number one for me, so I'll put it in order. Impact, selflessness, sense of responsibility, and service. And then influence. Influence is the cherry on top for that. So I don't go out looking for influence. Influence comes as a part of what impact you're making, right? And when you go out, with the sole purpose of wanting to solve something, we usually call ourselves entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs. We mix it up, but the purpose of being an entrepreneur is that you're a solution finder, you're a solution bringer to something, right? So essentially, if you're just a business person that is just solving, just doing business because people do business, you would struggle, right? You need to ensure that you are plugging into something and you're solving a deficiency in your community. Do you understand? And as a result, you start to see impact. Impact comes from there. Then you start to see influence, right? It's because someone else started Facebook. That's why we're able to have Twitter. That's why we're able to have other social media networks. It's because someone went ahead, right? It's because Amazon is eBay. I believe eBay. I think even Amazon started before eBay, but eBay got to the level of success way before Amazon. And then you saw Alibaba. It's because someone went in first and be the first. I'll say something. It's an honor to be the first. It's an honor to do things first. It's a privilege, and you must take on that privilege and hold it like a baton, like a torch. You are the torch bearer of impact, of change, of leadership, and you must take it as a whole. So essentially, if honestly, I can literally drop the mic now, because if you understand these 5 things I've mentioned, then you understand the basis of leadership. You understand the basis of leadership and how that works. So you understand the service to it, the responsibility, the impact, the selflessness, and the sense of responsibility to it. And I never add influence, because influence is an addition. That being said, so the core of true leadership. So we talked about this currently. Right there and then. So we have vision, courage, empathy. And I've touched on some of these things, right? Vision, courage, and empathy. But it's also something that's really come to mind is I must touch on is as leaders and as young persons, and I believe we're actually political here. And as young persons, it's important that when you're even in your various positions, even following leaders that have gone ahead, it's important to stay out of political battles or political oppositions or rifts, because in the long run, politicians do not have. It's important to know that politicians do not have what do they call it? Enemies. They just have friends in the end. They all become friends in the end. So if you ever get yourself involved in that, it's important that you stay out of that. And that's the point of, that's the essence of leadership. Another point that adds towards the points I'm making towards leadership. So especially as political people and people that want to go into and do it in the long run. So I also think that it's important that it's when we talk about leadership, we must also understand power dynamics, and also de-risking political careers and using power with integrity and leading with integrity. So as leaders, you must also understand the need to lead with integrity, the need to also be able to maneuver in a political terrain effectively without getting yourself caught up and losing your vision in the end because you're on one side of the divide or the other side of the divide. Your strong focus should be unity and should be the service to the people. That should stay your focus. But there's many distractions out there, and you must be able to strengthen yourself and strengthen your pillars and understanding to ensure that you do not find yourself in those divides, right? And you continue to build, a CV, or rather an experience that outlives these political terrains, because there are no permanent enemies for even politicians. There are no permanent enemies. They're just permanent friends, and eventually they find their way with each other. So it's also important that even as leaders, you have enough emotional intelligence to understand power dynamics. It's very, very important. And you also need to understand how it shifts, and when it shifts, and how it's moving left, right, center, right? And sometimes it's okay to just sit down and observe. And in the case of most political situations in Nigeria, it's important to just sit and observe because they're not long lasting. We also have a very destabilized environment, right? So you should know that nothing is lasting. So another true core truth that I would like to put there is emotional intelligence to understand, power dynamics. That's very important, especially if you want to leave an indelible mark, in this journey that you're on. So please take that into consideration, so you do not find yourself losing your essence and losing your substance along the way. I'll just move to the next slide. Thanks, Lisa. I think I've seen that. Just give me a moment because I also have it open. Okay. Leadership in action. I've got start where you are. If you're wondering where you want to start from, start where you are. Lead with consistency, lead with integrity. And that's important because you don't realize, most times you don't realize, but people are always watching. Watching how consistent you are. They're watching how good you are. They're watching how you commit to that thing. So most times you feel like, oh, this is not working. This is not working. Be patient with yourself. Give it grace. People are watching what you bring to the table. They are watching how hard you work. They are watching how you put your best foot forward. You just need to ensure you continue doing that. I speak strongly about serendipity. Serendipity is when you opportunity meets preparedness, and it happens just once, right? And you must always put yourself in a place whereby when you are always prepared, and when the opportunity comes, You don't even have to run after it. It comes to you because you're so prepared for it. So I speak the gospel of serendipity at all times, because preparedness is key. Preparedness is key. And being prepared is not focusing, is knowing that people are seeing the good things that you are doing. And stay consistent and persistent in that. So prioritize purpose over popularity. I think I've mentioned, I didn't particularly use those words, but it was mentioned in the area of influence and impact. And also when you find yourself in political terrains and power dynamics where they become very uncertain, even though we are in different parties with different views, right, or different ideals, but still have in mind what power dynamics look like and how they shift. And it's better until you are the one wielding the power, it's better you stay as an observer of that, um, of whatever situation that is, because it moves, particularly since our system is so destabilized. So ultimately, prioritize purpose over popularity. So if you're going to lead, you won't always be liked, and you have to be okay with that. Leadership requires decisions that sometimes unpopular but necessary. Let your values guide you, not the need for approval. The most influential leaders are those who protect integrity, not applause. And that's important, we can get, there's something called the slippery slope, when you're being applauded, you can fall off the train wagon. It's the bandwagon. So it's important that you're still able to find those pillars that drive you. And purpose is one of the greatest pillars that can hold a human being in ensuring that they are not distracted. So ensure if you found your purpose, that's a blessing. Hold on to it strongly. Build the mechanisms around it. Ensure that you live a life of integrity, of moral ethics. Ensure that, for some of you, I'm sure some of you want to be governors one day, ministers, senators. Start living like you're one. Start doing the things you will do when you get in those positions. Start doing them. Is it community development? Start. Don't wait till you have the big names to go into those places for impact, right? So take purpose over. Don't do it because you want to be popular. Don't do it because the thing I've learned about passion the most is that passion doesn't work if you're money hungry. It doesn't work. Money becomes a complementary to passion when passion comes into play. Don't put these things ahead of don't put influence ahead of leadership and the key leadership fundamentals. Don't put money ahead of passion and purpose. You would only lose out, and you would just be you would be a reflection of something you do not wish to see in our society today. So you have to pick it, and you have to pick your wins and ensure that it's better to be patient, for those wins to come than not to be, that's very important. Also, build people, not projects. I've talked about humanism. And another key thing to leadership is staying accountable. It's important that even if something is not your fault or doing, as you're the leader of that environment, you must be held accountable for that environment. You cannot push culpability. You must stay accountable for your actions. That's what births humility and many other ideals that will sustain you in the long run of leadership. So true leadership, and also keep learning, keep leading, keep on learning, keep relearning. I always tell the story about, sometimes when you're in a leadership position, you sort of forget what's raining or what's out there, what's the new music, what's the new TikTok dance, or what's going on, because you're at the top of the pyramid, right? And sometimes it's harder to look down. particularly if you don't have magnifying glasses. It's harder to look down. And I remember I had a situation with a staff member of mine or a colleague of mine, and I did not realize AI was just picking up, and I didn't, and I wanted her to to pick out the text of an image, and I'm like, oh God, we have to write out the text. How can we pull it? And she said, really, AI pulls out the text from a picture, and I'm like, really, AI is that advanced? So it's really allowing me to discover that I can also let my colleagues um, um, lead in their various positions as well, and also be open to various knowledge. It's something I said that's really key in the office. I said, if I am the smartest in the room, that's when I know that I need to fire everybody. Because I should never be the smartest in the room. I should be the person with the vision, but not the person with the operational tools. And with operational tools, you need intelligence, right? And I should not be the smartest in the room. So as a leader, you must ensure that when you lead people, you give them the room to also aspire, be greater, bring in their thoughts, bring in their knowledge, because that's what enables innovation. That's what enables creativity. That's what creates a visionary environment that is then sustainable. So that's essential. So leadership as a multiplier. So ultimately, one leader can inspire and multiply change through mentorship. Leadership and mentorship are directly proportional to each other. So that's what we do at the Latif Jakonde Leadership Academy. And that's obviously what the Electoral College is currently doing. And to ensuring that we are passing the baton on and we're giving opportunity for people to better themselves and to be greater at what they currently do. And there's no system greater than that. This is how generations are birthed. This is how generations are sustained. It's human capital. It takes a while, but it's efficient, right? And then to make the job a lot faster, or this cause a lot faster, you also, when you get to that space, you also need to make a deliberate effort to ensure you are also able to pass down the baton and also help those that in need and help those that require the sort of enablers that were created for you. And that's what goes back to my point about leadership being selflessness. I was also nurtured through the Kashmir Brain Fellowship Program, before even coming to Lagos, and from Lagos, I was senior special assistant to the governor on development partnership and economic planning. Before I became the executive secretary of Latif Jakonde Leadership Academy, a new entire agency that was never, that's never been created in the history of Lagos State. So you can birth something bigger than yourself, and you just need to focus on that impact. And also, when people give to you, ensure you are able to give back. So Nigeria's future depends on ethical, visionary young leaders like yourself. Leaders that are ready to lead, that are ready to commit, that are ready to change the course of Nigeria's future. Leaders that are ready to serve outside of themselves. People that are committed to a life of service. Look at Baba Awolowo, for instance. Life of service. Latif Jakonde, life of service. And there's a life of service. Tafawa Balewa, life of service. So you must be ready to serve. Even if the entire statistics and data of Nigeria does not look as enticing as it should, but you must be ready to serve. You must be ready to give it your best belt. What I say is that Nigeria, I would add my quota to Nigeria. Nigeria will be better in my time. I'm not going to walk away, from Nigeria. And I think it's that understanding and that perspective is what will pave the way for a lot of us. We're very, some of us didn't even go through half of the things the older generations went through. They went through a civil war. Do you know what it means to go through a civil war? Do you know what it means to find yourself in a war? The killings of women and children. And thankfully, I've never experienced it in my generation. And who am I to sit here to complain? They didn't do that. They fought for what was right. So who are you to just go on Twitter and then just blab your mouth and destroy your country and call it names? And guess what? The person that wants to travel to Nigeria, when you want to travel to any country, don't you check on Twitter what they are saying about the country? Or don't you look online what is being said about the country? How many of us travel? There's none of us that do not travel and we don't look at the security situation of the country or look at what people are saying about the country. So when you put that out there, that's the power of one. That's the power of one person tweeting nonsense, and an investor that's supposed to come in sees that tweet and decide to change their mind. Whereas you could say something positive about your country. You could constructively criticize your country. You say, my country is not there yet, but oh my goodness, we're resilient people. We're powerful people. We're forthright people. We're people of will and purpose and integrity and clarity. But we're not there yet. We need to build on national integration. You can say that. Right? You're not outwardly kicking your country out of the competition at all. That's the power of one. There are several countries I want to travel to. I have to look online. What are they saying about the country? That's a normal thing to do, right? And if you don't say good things about our country, you say Lagos is smelling, this is smelling, this is smelling. And I'm sorry, what? What? I can tell you, I've been to Naples. Naples was smelling. I can tell you how many places I've been to. But I've never seen if this was to be recorded and sent to people, to God forbid, sent to the Italian government, they probably would let me back into their country, right? So that's the idea behind it, right? So you need to ensure that, and not that Naples is smelling. It's just it's not smelling. It just has, people's perspective is different, right? Or their experiences are different, right? So how do we get to having a different view and being able to build our country together? And it's probably your tweet or your blog post that you did that has changed an investor's mind. Whereas we can build together, right? And so there's power of that responsibility and the visionary leadership. The world changes with just one person who dares to act. And I can tell you so many stories of one person. So there's Nelson Mandela, there's the Martin Luther King, there's Awolowo. A lot of our parents today, particularly in the southern region, western region, thank Awolowo, because a lot of them are actually educated because of Awolowo's free education, right? So imagine just one person coming out to do that. A lot of people thank Latija Konde today for housing. His housing projects are huge. So when you come to Lagos, there's always like, Latija Konde housing. And then there's Saudana too. Saudana did incredible. He stepped back so Tafawa Balewa can go forward. So we've seen the power of one constantly. Constantly. So why would you take yourself out of the equation of you being that one person that changes everything for us, right? So think about that. So on a final note, on the responsibility to act and leaving a legacy as a leader, I leave you with the quote from Warren Bennis, the legendary organization expert and pioneer of modern leadership principles, which says, leadership is the ability to translate vision to reality. The onus is on you to do, act, be impactful, and make a difference. So I have a popular quote whereby it goes with, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. I also have another quote that I've lived by at the age of 16. If you think you're too small to have an impact, try going to bed with a mosquito. Thank you.
Wow. 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 Brilliant. 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 Quite a lot has been said and questions have popped up even in my own mind. Particularly this uh, demarketization of our country. We've seen quite a lot of we've seen regulations come up now, and I believe it's all in a bid to help project our country in better light. So this could not have been better said. Thank you so much, Mrs. Aishat. Now we will take questions. Usually the pattern that we take is people raise up their hands and we ask them to unmute. I would like to confirm from you, do you want to take the questions one by one, or do you want us to lump maybe about two or three together? We take those questions, then you can answer so that it buys us a bit more time.
Okay, is it a lot? Okay.
Yeah, the hands keep coming up and they might keep coming up as we continue to progress. Right now we
Okay.
have about six.
I'll still rather do one by one because leadership questions are they sort of
Okay.
have some really intricate parts. Or let's do two at a time.
Okay,
Two.
two at a time. Okay, all right. So I would ask you, Ijoma and Shay, to unmute one after the other. But please, let's try to make your questions as concise as possible. Don't rigmarole. Just ask the question so that we can be precise. Ijoma, I've asked you to unmute now. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. Okay. Are you hearing me, ma'am?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Okay. I want to start by appreciating you for this concise and very productive section.
Yeah.
On the leadership. I've been able to learn, and also at the same like on some few concepts, and also relearning also like at the process. So like I have two personal questions for you for now. And the first one says, what role does vulnerability play like in your leadership journey? So if possible, I would love you to share as maybe like an experience also to buttress that point, man. And secondly also, man, how do you balance authority and empathy like in your leadership approach? Because you like I had you talk about empathy enough and the rest. So using the Nigerian context and like our terrain, how do you think that like a leader can be able to balance authority and then empathy? Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. So should we take that one?
Yeah, you have to. I guess the two questions already posed.
Okay, so that's a very good question. Thank you. And they're really profound questions. So I'll say I'm not sure which one to go with first. What does vulnerability play in your role, play in your leadership abilities, right? I guess, or my own leadership skills. Vulnerability is very key because that's where you can't separate empathy and vulnerability. And when you're being vulnerable is when you allow understanding. There's a way if you're being closed up, you sort of would have difficulty with understanding. So empathy also plays a key role. So I don't want to separate both of them. So, for instance, I had a situation whereby I found out that me being vulnerable allowed my staff to have a better understanding of my leadership, right? And vulnerable in terms of maybe in my past or my childhood has allowed others to understand understand who I am and who I hope to be. So what it does is that it fosters trust, and it encourages, communication. So I'm also able to now know the people I work with because then they share their story, I share mine. I'm also able to now know them beyond just the obvious job description is, okay, this is where it is and this is where it's not. and as a result, that encourages them to even come into work more. It builds also a stronger connection. So something I say is that the Latin Jaconde Leadership Academy staff, we are sort of like a family. And we're not a family because we just work together. We're a family because we've also allowed ourselves to be vulnerable with each other. So when one is going through a challenge, we collaborate and we work together, to support them when they're going through, where recently one of our staff is Japai, so we also congratulate and come together and support. We've also had people that have had losses, from their spouses or illness, and it's coming together in those tough moments and saying, oh, wow, let's all work together. We've gone to console each other. We've opened up to each other. We've discussed even the hard truth. So what we then do is we've had different classes on resilience and mental health in the office. So to also help in helping us to understand each other and being empathetic towards, each other. So I've been very intentional about that. We recently had a class with Mr. Tunde Ekpekurede. I think just a few months ago, 3 months ago, on mental resilience and how to overcome some of the challenges we might be having in the home life. So it generally builds trust. It creates a safe environment. It also reduces fear. So sometimes we are strong. Leaders can be very tough. So it allows fear. It also allows, I like the fact that it allows open communication. Because now when the person is struggling, you'll be like, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with this. I'm depressed today. That word of I'm depressed in my office, I hear it all the time. Every time I hear it, I want to fire all my Gen Zs. But I know I have to be, I have to calm down with them and allow them to also go through their depressive moments and come out of it. So vulnerability is key because it also allows us to improve. It's because someone said they are depressed. That's why we're able to, bring in a mental health expert, right? If everyone just hides, it will be tough to bring those in. So how do you balance authority and empathy? Oh, I was about to say that's a tough one, but it's not actually a tough one. I'm a spiritual person. So for my first and foremost answer is the spirit will lead. God will lead, as directed. But also, what I've done is I've come to separate facts from sentiments. I've come to separate, when you separate facts from sentiments, you're able to move accordingly, right? Because we get emotional and all wound up and a lot sentimental that it starts, it's like when you're crying and tears start to block your eyesight. That's what I feel like sentiment does, right? And I come to look at facts. The fact is, do we need to get this deliverable done in this timeline? That's the fact. But I also empathize with what you're going through, but how can we get it done within this timeline? So it's always a tough one because you also have to be careful with how you play it so you don't push someone to the edge. But you essentially just have to be careful with it. You have to know. So what I do is how I practically balance it out is basically I tell my people that work with me that, okay, this is time for work and this is time for play. So in that time for play, we're also able to now talk about things that are bugging them so empathy can be created. But when it's time for work, let's face work. So for instance, we had social gathering just yesterday, or day before yesterday rather. So I try to embed that in some of this, or sometimes I take them out to eat, or sometimes I tell them, okay, accompany me somewhere to an informal gathering. And then we can then build relationships there. So then I can offer empathy in that moment. but I might not be able to offer it at work because I'm proving that, okay, we need to do this thing at a certain time. So what I've just done is I've created time for each of them. So I've created time for empathy, I've created time for authority. So what I've also done is, and I won't say authority, but I've just created time for, I'll find another word for it. So I won't say authority. It's just leadership and leading well. So I've created time for either one of them. So it's easy for me to now balance both effectively, as opposed to throwing one away. I don't think I'm in the leadership whereby I can do both, consecutively, but I'm able to balance mastery and also my mastery and my charge, mastery and my mandate. I'm able to balance both out. So I take them out. So I go out with, let's do something, let's do an activity. So then that gives room for empathy. But when we're in the office and when it's time to focus on the work, everybody knows his work. So I try to create time for both activity. I hope that helps.
Okay. Yes. I think that was very
I
well
hope it
answered.
helps. Is he here?
Who?
The person that asked the question, sorry.
I'm sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he said Akachuku, yes. I hope that helps. Okay, he says yes.
Okay, so I'll take Olaleke Uluwaseyi now. I've asked you to unmute, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ma. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can perfectly well.
Right, thank you. Thank you for the enlightenment you brought to us this evening. And also, my questions. I actually want to base my question majorly on the Nigerian people and leadership. So firstly, I want to compare our first, our president that just left and the current president that just left. Now we saw some people say, okay, Buhari is a very gentleman, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. Now they said he's too gentle, he's too cold, he's not doing anything. Now another person came in and he started doing some things like, okay, doing this one, doing this one, doing this one. They are saying it's too much. Now I want to ask, at what point, okay, should you consider listening to people to take decision as needed? Okay, should you go, if you say you are gentle, they say you are too gentle. If you are cold, you say you are too gentle. Trying to listen to them, they say you are too gentle. And then when you are taking actions, they will say you are too harsh. So at what point should we come to the equilibrium as a leader on what to do on a particular thing? And secondly, my question also concerning what are the problem that a leader should be prepared for, especially example as a Nigerian leader holding the position of maybe a governor or something. At what are the problem? I know you have already served in the north, you've served in the south, and then currently you are serving in your own terrain of leadership or what you have learned. How do you think we should consider as a leader in Nigeria? How should we be thinking in Nigeria as a Nigerian leadership? I don't know how to put my question, but being specific as a Nigerian, and okay, I think you get my question in that way.
Yes, so what I understand is from the second one.
So I want to continue. Okay.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay. All right. Okay. And also, what is the difference between a leader and playing politics? And can you distinguish between, or let me say, can a good leader be a good politician, and can a good politician be a good leader? Okay. And I think lastly, when should you as a leader restrict your access. For example, or being truthful. For example, I saw a leader saying that, okay, I don't know about, they asked him a question and he said he doesn't know anything about that. Although that thing is a general knowledge in a domain, in the environment, I mean, that everybody's supposed to know. But unfortunately, he doesn't know that particular time. He said he doesn't know it. And then the next thing that people are using to drag the person is, you're calling yourself a leader, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that. And then, but if he had saying that, okay, maybe find in one way or the other to lie or something like that, he's still going to be respected. But nevertheless, he has lied in one way or the other. So can we be a good leader and at the same time be open and saying what is in our mind? And lastly, this is considering Latif Jack on the academy. They are saying that, okay, you must have a particular qualification, like, okay, you must be an NYC holder before you must have finished your NYC. But there is a particular person that wants to go for it in my area. The person is waiting for a mobilization. Can the person still apply for it? Thank you.
Thank you, Olaleke. I guess you've taken the old class question. But thanks for that. So firstly, with LGLA, no, they can't apply. They have to, they should just wait till they do their mobilization. And so by mobilization, is it the pass out? Is that what you mean?
No, I mean like waiting to enter NYC, like.
Oh, no. So they have to. Yes, because because in essence, they work with commissioner and special advisors. So we like to ensure that you already have a certain level of work experience before you come in. So you are not thrown into an ocean you don't even have a simple idea of how to swim in. Does that make sense? So no, they can't. They need to finish their NYSC first, in order to do that, or have an exemption from NYSC, because then they still need their 2 years work experience. It's not just the NYSC. They need to have a bit of work experience. So they are not, so they don't collapse on the job. They understand when they need to use emotional intelligence. So it's important that experience goes a long way, and you don't need to have that experience from the office. From the office alone. It can be anywhere, right? But it's just important for you to be able to bring that to the forefront of conversations, to have the basic knowledge and understanding that we require at Latif Jakonde Leadership Academy. So let me start with, you talked about the President Buhari and President Tinubu. Basically, from what I understand by that, you're saying that you basically cannot satisfy everyone. That's what it is. You can't satisfy everyone. We recently did an event called Lagos Leadership Summit, and I still got some questions about why did I do the event so good? Why didn't I just put the money aside? Why did I do people were actually upset with me. So that's life. It's impossible to satisfy anyone. Even our fellows, most times I find that I don't satisfy them, right? It's human nature, right? And you must understand human nature. And that's why sometimes there are discussions on whether is human nature inherently good or is human nature inherently bad. There's always that discussion on what that looks like. I feel like that's a Marxist. I think it's from Karl Marx. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Karl Marx, but he's a theorist or theology. I think theories or scholar, right? Rather, on human nature. I think he's the one. So you can't satisfy everybody. That's why in my earlier topic, I talked about distractions. You must be able to put distractions aside and do what's right. And just ensure that you are not surrounded with yes men. Yes men will kill you quicker than, perspective. So don't surround yourself with yes men, people that can only say yes to you and they can't actually tell you the truth. There's a problem with that, huge problem. And I see that when we have presidents, they are surrounded with yes men, right? And we shouldn't, and that's the same thing with Donald Trump right now. He's surrounded with yes men. That's why he can post an AI of the Pope, of him being the Pope on the White House page. Like, that does not make any sense. Not even if you're a supporter of Donald Trump, it doesn't make the slightest sense. So it's important that we're not surrounded with yes men. So to answer the first one, you need to focus on impact. Whether you do it well, people will talk. Whether you do it bad, people will talk. But the one thing that will not shift is posterity and legacy. And legacies are not things of the moment. They are things of the future. Right? So you essentially need to focus on legacy. Even before I got my job at Latif Jakonde Leadership Academy, we've been working on the program for about 2-3 years and it still didn't come through, right? And things happened, so you see that things happen, but just focus. The people that need to help you will find you. Impact should be your number one focus. If you can have impact, nothing else will matter. And the thing about success is success has many friends. Right? If President Tinubu now has started with a rocky start, bearing in mind that even the problem that is met on ground, they were not doings of his own. That's not a rocket science. And even if he wants to implement any policies, and he already has, you will not see, it's not rocket science that you will not see it come into play as quickly as you want it to. It's completely impossible. There are policies that affect over 200 million people. It takes time, it takes patience, and it certainly doesn't, our system, there needs to be an overhaul in our system, even our electoral system, even the 4 years thing. Some people argue that 4 years is not good enough. It should be 5 years, 6 years. And I know Singapore is doing that. I know the UK is a 5 years term. It's not a 4 years term. So, so it varies. But all I know is that if President Tinubu does it well, and, there's legacy and things, beyond his role currently, you will see that when he leaves that presidency, you will see that people would, they will start complimenting him. Because also, we are very forgetful people, Nigerians, we're very forgetful people. I still read stories about Yar'Adua being Nigeria's best president. He died early. Some of the things I read that I'm like, are we reading statistics or data at all? So it's just important that, however, when making your own judgments, make sure you make it as factual as possible. Read. So then you're not able to be influenced by just sentiments, but you're being influenced by facts. And also just focus on impact. If you focus on impact, everything else is on the back burner, and I also mentioned that it's, as young people that you want to create impact, it's not your job to sit on a political stool and start saying this is the person wrong, this is the person wrong, and find yourself in the battle. You start to lose your essence, right? Be careful not, because when those politicians, when they become friends, how would you feel? They don't even know you. They don't know you exist. So how would you feel? Yet you probably went to fight and fight and fight. How would you feel? They don't even know you exist. So be careful not to get involved in problems or take sides with situations that you don't even know the genesis of it. And a lot of these politicians, they have genesis to their problems. They are beyond what we see in the news, right? And take it from someone that's even in the political term. So don't take sides, right? You also talked about problems. So I think something that a leader should always be prepared for is to be thick-skinned. it's important to be thick-skinned, in this journey, because being thick-skinned also helps you to be able to put aside, distractions and be laser focused, to put aside side talks. So even myself right now, I don't put myself in rooms where I know that people in those rooms do side talks. I don't. Or else they'll just pour something like they shouldn't pour on your head. They'll pour it in your spirit and you'll be like, what have I done? Or how did I enter this place? Focus on your change and impact. And understand that it's a temporary situation. Leadership is always temporary. Big titles, leadership is not temporary, it's permanent, but big titles are temporary. If there's a permanent secretary that is upsetting you today, just know that that permanent secretary might retire in the next 2 years. It's temporary, right? So take it with a pinch of salt. Can a good politician be a good leader? Why not? Absolutely. So you need to understand that being a politician doesn't mean you are a bad person. No, that's not the idea of being a politician. Maybe in this climate, maybe Nigeria has the basic knowledge of Nigeria that's tainted it. No, but absolutely not. Being a politician means you can actually be a good leader, right? Politics is a skill. It's a skill. So you can be a good leader. Yes, I think where the concern probably comes is that you have to make some, you have to take on board some of the things you do not expect. So basically, take on some things, basically, or some things you might not agree with. But if you look at being a politician means loyalty, there are some really key skills inside. So yes, you can be a good leader and be a good politician. Even to an extent, I play politics in my family. We all play politics one way or the other. It's just how big our political platform is, because I play politics in my family as well. So it's up to you. But yes, you can be a good politician and be a good leader. I think you should not, as a leader, yes, you can restrict. I don't think it's restricting being truthful. I think you can restrict information. Because, for instance, if there's a situation with national security, and then you because you say you want to be truthful, you now review national security and the disaster happens. That's not being truthful, that's being stupid, right? So you can omit some information. It's not because you are opening up every information doesn't mean it's truth. Let's be clear, it's not being truthful. You just choose to. So yes, I think I've answered that, right? So I don't think you should restrict it, but being truthful, I think you can restrict the information you put out, but you should not restrict being truthful. Be honest with yourself. Thank you. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. Okay, we'll move quickly. Just 4 more hands. Timothy, go ahead, please.
Thank you, the facilitator. The class has been so impactful. Yeah, my question to, like some people had asked you so, but not directly as I really wanted it. My question is this, going by the material and what you have taught us today, why is it that the dominant political structure of Nigeria does not work with those core of leadership that you just gave us? At the same time, under leadership in action, in that material. So, average Nigerian can realize that most time, the political atmosphere and political sphere of Nigeria, we see the gladiator there rarely operate by those things. Does that mean it is not possible for them to work along those cause and still be successful politicians? That is number one. Number two is actually about the academy you had. I would have loved that you give us a link that can help those that would love to have some inquiries and that may be interested in joining the academy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that Timothy, and thank you for your questions, Olaleke. So I'll answer the last one first. So I think I have people from my team on the call. So if anyone's on the call, can you please put the Academy's link in the group chat, please? I'll let them do that whilst I take the question. So I don't think that I don't think it's fair to say that our current political structure does not accept, does not have those cores. They do. So as a matter of fact, our political structures is based on ideologies. So if you did not know, PDP is a right party, is on the right of the political spectrum, and APC is more of a left party. So PDP, for instance, is focused on capitalism, and APC is focused on social welfare. So those are one of the ideals. So they do have these ideals. It's not that they don't, they do. So if you read their manifestos, this is the different ways that they direct. PDP wants to build, they're sort of like conservatives or the Republicans, and the APC is like the Democrats or the Labour Party. Essentially, that's what. So they all have different. Labour Party speaks for Labour Party, so they all have different manifestos actually, and they are all situated on various. So we call it the political spectrum, right? So the spectrum. So if you can go and read about the left, right, being in the center, being in the middle, being close to the left, being close to the right. So I think we have a party called in the UK. I've forgotten what's called. So it was very close to the to conservatives, but it was in between Labour and conservatives. So it was in between left and right. So basically we do have these ideologies. Now, the question will be, how are we bringing on board those ideologies? I do think ideological politics has left us. And I think they left us, I wouldn't say they left us long ago. I don't believe so. I believe that they are still with us in some capacity. Because if you notice with the APC government, they focused on, we had the conditional cash transfer, the CCT, all just the, basic stuff for people, because they are also focused on the welfare of people and socialism as a whole. So yes, I won't say it has left us completely. I think that there's a part of us still there. But why is it not being adopted? I generally think Nigerians are a reflection of their leaders. So I think it's the leader you want there, Nigerians want there, that you see there. And it's what Nigerians want that they believe they are giving Nigerians. So if you want the urgent 2K, that's what your politician will give you, the urgent 2K. If you want ideals, you get ideals. Because even if these parties are fully focused on ideals when they come in, it seems like the wants of Nigerians tend to tilt, those things. Because I know APC came in with strong ideals when they started. Actually, I remember reading their manifesto, reading everything. I know they came in with strong ideals. So it sort of tilts a bit. And Nigerians are a reflection of their leaders. We look like our leaders look like us. Because if they don't give you that urgent 2K now, you might not vote for them. Right? So in essence, I think we need to, the change starts with the man in the mirror. And I'm not trying to repeat Michael Jackson, but he's very factual. If we change, our demands would change. Our demands would look different. Right now, we are not changing, and our demands need to change, and our demands need to look different. So we need to get away from the quick wins. And if you notice, you even be annoyed when you see a man driving and maybe those damnful buses, like they are driving, they're not even concerned about pedestrians. The way they are driving is like they're not even looking left, right. They're just like they're the only ones on the road. That's a problem. So when they now get to other positions, they see that they are the only ones on that road. They are the only ones that, as a result, they are the only ones that will benefit. So we need to send, is it sensitize ourselves? And that's what Electoral College is doing. In the UK, they have something called Bite the Ballot for young people. We need more. We need more to sensitize everybody on what their demand should look like. But right now, the demand looks like it's urgent 2K. And we need to get the part away from it and do it differently. So our demands need to look different by and large, right? And I think if our demands look different, what this political structure is would look different. I hope that helps.
Okay. Ejike, I've asked you to unmute, please. That's the question.
Okay, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, nice presentation. My question is that you will see a Nigerian before they came into power, very nice CV, many others spend years abroad. You check their profile, very fantastic. Then when they are given a little opportunity, you now see that the whole thing is just like opposite of they became opposite of their CV. So I'm asking now, what actually happened? So is it that those things they see abroad, is it that they now forget about it? Even the way they lie, you now say, is this the person that, so that's my question, what really happened? And how can we change that? Thank you.
Thank you. So I think that goes with the question I had from Timothy. I don't want to obviously say anything here, so I'm not quoted. But I don't think anything happened. I think they just yes, let me be clear, right? When these situations happen, they need to look different. We shouldn't accept, we shouldn't play with the impact and influence and the development of our people in any situation. We should absolutely not. But I don't think the problems are politicians. I think politicians are just a part of the problem. I think we also have a civil service, right? There's a civil service. Politicians come into the civil service. So also, I think there needs to be a restructuring in our civil service, first and foremost. So I don't believe I believe it's the system that changed them. I don't believe people, and I believe that, like I said, I think urgent 2K also changes people. When it's like, the constituency is asking for money. At one point, they will not give you elections, they don't ask you for money. So what would you do? So if that happened to me, I will simply step down from the position. That's point blank. I think the problem is also we must be able to, it's not every leadership that we need to take on board. We must be able to turn around and let go and leave. Public service is not a place for do or die. You must know when to leave. As leaders, sometimes we don't know when to leave, especially when the going is getting good. You must know when to leave. Something I learned at a very young age is, I remember, so I grew up abroad, and there was a store, and they was giving out free chocolates. And I noticed that, I'm like, wait, people were actually declining the chocolates. This was white men. They were declining the chocolates. I'm like, this is free. Big one, oh. The store was only trying to, people were declining it. And we tried, and I think we tried that in Nigeria. No one could ever decline. It's because sometimes we take what we don't need. And Dora Kunli says it. Sometimes we don't need too much. We think what we need is too much, but we don't. We just need the bare minimum. You must know when to say no. Actually, I am a bit full right now. I don't need any more. Actually, I'm okay right now. I don't need any more. So we must know when to say no. Particularly when it's looking so sweet. Free. You must be able to turn down free goodies. You must know when to say no. You must know when to leave power, or else power will leave you. You must know when to leave power, or power will leave you. And when power leaves a person, it disgraces the person because it's intoxicating. It can be intoxicating if you don't have your points and your values clear. When power leaves you, it will disgrace you. So you must know when to step away and when to get energy to come back again. Right? We don't know when to leave. We don't know when enough is enough. And if you notice within our people, how we talk to each other, our emotional intelligence is low. We don't know. Miss Dora said it. I remember watching her and she was like, you need to know that you don't need too much. What you need, we fear that we need. I was hearing about a bra or, a Swarovski bra. Why do I want to wear a Swarovski bra? Over on TV or in a documentary from one of our politicians that had left. Like, isn't that going to pinch me? Isn't that going to hurt me? Sometimes what we know, we don't know when to leave. And as leaders, you must know when to leave. And it's good to leave when the applause allowed. Right? Leave when the applause allowed. You must always know when to leave. You must know when to remove your hand from things. Right? That's important. The other answer to it is, I think that we need essentially an overhaul system. We need serious overhauling, including in the civil service, because it's not just the politicians. You also have the local government chairman. You have the civil servants. You have a structure. Like, for instance, we have over 100,000 civil servants in Lagos State. And for instance, I know our head of service, Mr. Bodeagoro, is doing his best to retrain our civil servants to ensure that they meet their full potential and they just don't. People say sometimes civil service is the last resort job. It's like a dumping ground. So it's reputing that. So you didn't talk about civil service because that's the structure. That's the structure. So if someone goes into a structure that is already, dead before arrival, what do you want them to do? So it's beyond, it's not just politicians. There are so many multi-layered solutions to the several problems, and we can only adopt it one at a time. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Stephen, I'll ask you just two more hands. Stephen and then Tayo. Stephen, I'll ask you to unmute, please.
Okay, thank you very much, facilitator. Thank you also, the host. You can hear me?
Go ahead, please.
All right. Mine is a concern. I went to the website of Latif Jakande Leadership Academy, I think about 2 weeks ago. and I discovered that it has an age limit. I think it's about 35 years, well above 35 years. And I really want to be part of that academy. And if I'm not going to be part of it as because of the rules, do you have other maybe sites, links of other academies for leadership? Because I believe that a leader, especially politicians, will be talking about politicians since they're the ones responsible for the destinies of countries, of nations. So why shouldn't they be trained? One day I want to be there and I need to be grounded. So I want, if it is possible for you to give us other links of leadership academies that don't have that kind of age limit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. So it looks like I have my head of media on the call, but I'm not sure she can speak. So maybe I'll go. So the reason, yes, we have an age limit, and we are trying to also create new programs for people your age to also build. Unfortunately, you have to also remember, unfortunately, we only started nearly 2 years ago. So you have to also give us the time to grow and to be able to expand. In the meantime, I'm happy that you're very hungry, to learn, and I'll send some stuff to Lisa, and then she can populate and also forward to you guys, if that's okay. But there are other programs there. The Chevening program, that's not age limit. Even though it doesn't have leadership intricacies, there are, I think, numerous programs. There's UN programs. I recently saw one that I actually sent to my assistant to help me with. I think it's called, let me just see. Okay, so it's called Center for Global Dialogue and Leadership. So you can look at that. It's by Sustainable Development Goals UN. And there's also the one in Oxford University. It's called, I think it's called Scroll, from Oxford University. Yeah, I think it's called Scroll. So there are many opportunities, but I'm happy to compile and also send to Lisa. My team is on a call, so they'll help me compile and send it to Lisa. I hope that helps. And thank you, AGK, for your question. Also, Stephen, I hope that helps.
Okay. Adeyemi, Aditaya, I'd like you to unmute, please.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I will thank the speaker. My own question goes, at what point do we need to separate leadership from political leaders? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Because there are some political leaders who we felt they are leaders. But when we see things they do, we wonder, is it the political space that make them to be acting in that manner? Let me give you an example. The example is one of these so-called political leaders leaving the shore of the country. When some say they are going outside the country looking for who to invest, and one is going out to knock the country. It's not knocking the leaders of the political space, but it's knocking the country as a whole, indirectly demarketing the country, and he calls himself a leader. That is number one. Another one is this. At what point will a leader take a stand on what he believes that this is a way than generality seeing that particular leader as an enemy of people? Thank you.
Thank you, Aditaya, but I didn't catch that question. I know I didn't catch the last one. So I know you mentioned what's different between leadership. How do you separate leadership from political leadership? So can
The
you
other
go
one I'm
again?
saying is trying a leader, like a leader will take his stand. We always say our leaders must have a foresight of where he's taking a country to. And in the process of taking us through that side, the generality of the country are seeing it as enemy of the people. And that leader still bent on going forward to do that particular thing. Thank you.
So what are you asking? What's the question with that?
At what point can we draw a demarcation between doing the right thing and making people see that this is the right thing than making people feel he's doing the wrong thing?
So you should never draw a demarcation with doing the right thing. Doing the right thing should always be the thing. So you're not here to get popular. You know, I mentioned that already. And no one is here to get popular. Doing the right thing would always be the way forward. I know several leaders that, funny enough, we can also use I'm using Gaddafi as an example, but I'm not particularly leaning towards Gaddafi. But we also see that with the demise of Gaddafi, him also not leaving power in good time to hand over to legitimate successor aside from his son, you see that Libya has turned to a shadow of itself, right? So it's just in essence just important to always do the right thing. You're not here for accolades and so in international relations and politics, it's called populism. You're not here for populism and for the sake of just being popular. It's just doing the right thing. And the leader has been elected in that position for a reason, right? If you know that you are not going to trust their foresight, why did you get them into the position in the first place? Or why were they in that position? And if we're even talking more specifically about the current president, he's only been there for, I think, 2 years, So why were they elected in the first place? And so it's ensuring that when you allow a leader to lead, you give them the opportunity to also lead and to bear with them the patience to do what is right. And I think we see that in different climates. Most people are not necessarily, happy with their leaders, but you must be able to exercise time. So Nigeria is only 4 years. So imagine other climes that is 5 years, 6 years. What would you say? So it's giving it time to lead. They've been elected because they are trusted, right? So you have to trust that they will do the right thing in the end. And that's the beauty of democracy. If they don't do the right thing, there's another election coming up, right? There's always elections coming up, and that's the beauty of democracy. I think you also mentioned leadership from political leaders. I'm not sure about that, but I presume what you're saying is how do you separate leaders from political leaders? I think leaders are all the same thing. Is what separates you is your values and what drives you. And we've touched up on those values: integrity, moral ethics, empathy, resilience, selflessness, sense of responsibility. What differentiates you from every other leader is those set of values. So you must be able to adopt those values. And I think that's what makes, so even in this Nigeria that we're talking about, we have some good politicians, some good political leaders. Someone who is one. Fashola is one, right? I know Fashola is even really popular. So we have leaders that you could see their values and how they differentiate themselves. And it's important that, your values is what differentiates you. They're all in the political space. Fashola is in political space. So we see Awolowo was in the political space. Lateef Jakonde was in the political space, but they are showing values and they are showing impact on workings, and that's what's important. I hope that helps.
Okay, and we're down to the last two questions.
Okay. Lots of questions today.
Yes.
All right, good
Go
evening.
ahead, Udo. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Good
Good evening,
evening.
Madam
Good
Patricia.
evening.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, yes, sir.
All right, awesome. So, my first, should I say a question or a concern? My concern is in this social space, so many youths are always eager to take up leadership positions, but once they come on board, they become relaxed, they become cool, they don't want to work. So it is becoming kind of situation whereby they only pick up leadership position to upgrade their profile or CV. And once it's been added, they just go back and then they don't do the work. So what do you think we can do to solve that problem? Yeah, I know very well that Jack on the Leadership Academy is trying to solve that problem, but the criteria for joining such academy is so stringent. Yeah, let me use the word stringent. Right, only a few people will be able to get into it. Then my second question is looking at the scope of your activities, right? Do you partner with some other NGO? Because I happen to be the coordinator of Young African Leaders Initiative, Lagos State Network, and we do a lot of leadership programs. So I want to ask, do you collaborate or do you partner or do you sponsor other leadership programs to assist youth grow, outside Jakon Leadership Academy itself, like the training itself? So if you do, what are the criteria, or can we talk behind or something? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Ojo, for that question. So yes, first and foremost, we do partner with a lot of NGOs. So recently at the Lagos Leadership Summit, I'm not sure if anyone was at the Lagos Leadership Summit. If you were, just give a shout out. So which we saw that where we partnered with, a lot of organizations as well. So we do. But thankfully, since we have like our heads of communications and partnerships on the call, so perhaps Temitope, please drop your email. And if you drop your email, so Ojo can pick it up. And if there are any collaborations, you can send to her, and I'm sure she would work on it. Yes, so we do partner. And be careful to say stringent. If you want to apply for Lateef Jakonde, apply. The way to not get yourself into rooms that you should get yourself in is first of all disqualifying yourself. So the worst thing you can do for yourself is disqualify yourself first before they disqualify you. So don't disqualify yourself first, ever. Yes, so Lee, we got a question on young people when they get into those positions, then they don't do what they're supposed to do. So here is the thing, right? That's not for you. You just need to ensure that you bring in the right person, right? That the right people are elected first and foremost. Yes, LGL is trying to solve that gap, but this is why this class is going on right now, is to ensure that people don't get into, is to prepare people for leadership and to ensure that when you get into that place, you're able to sustain that position. And they perhaps need to come to Electoral College or come to Lateef Jakonde Leadership Academy to see how it's done. But I can't speak for them. I can only speak for you. You are on the right track right now to ensuring that you're building a sustainable system by opening yourself up to different learnings. Yes, so that's the only thing I can say. I don't know why they are doing that. And I've said something that when you go into rooms, you're going to represent not just yourself, you're representing others. So if they spoil it for other young people, they will have themselves to blame. So it's important that when we go into these positions, we think about others when we go into these positions. But yes, I hope I'm not able to answer that as greatly as you want me to, because I don't know why the person, whoever is doing that, is doing that. But I know that it's important that just so it doesn't happen to you, you must prepare yourself with the key pillars that you need to keep you going when you enter those positions. Thank you. Adeshala. Okay, so I think F Young is next.
Yeah, hello. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, good evening. Sorry. Thank you very much. Your class has been very, very interesting because it talks about leadership, But I've been having network challenge. I've been throwing me off and on, but I said I must stay on to ask this question. So my question is, do you think that Nigerians are suffering from behavioral and attitudinal deficit, in terms of leadership, in terms of getting a quality leadership and system in Nigeria? And if yes, what would you advise young people who are aspiring to become leaders tomorrow? Because I noticed in Nigeria that seriously, we don't have conscience anymore. And that's why things are getting out of hand, when it comes to leadership in all fields, even in the family, even in the schools, even in the market, even anywhere they have leadership, there's this deficit, there's this shortage of quality leadership in those places. So what will you advise us as young people? Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. So first and foremost, you know that these leaders that we are talking about, we don't pick them from maybe a different country. We pick them from amongst ourselves. So they are the same as us. They are one of us. So they are not far-fetched. So I need to break that. They are one of us. We've just picked one person amongst ourselves. Right. And thank God there are some of them that go there and I've seen really impactful government, and I'm in one currently. There are some of us that go there and we do the needful, and there are some that don't. So remember, these people are picked from those various communities. They are not picked from a different climate. Right. So essentially, yes, I do think that we do have a behavioral challenge, not, however, for the leaders. I think as a people, and I think we've used our culture and religion incorrectly. And I understand that we've used that for the purpose, maybe because that's the only thing we have left. And honestly, I think it's a government job to recreate and to make that, look different, and to make it to ensure that people do not lose who they are, because there's something called the rule of law. So if you're a lawyer here, you know that there's rule of law. Nigeria has a weak rule of law because really you can't always control people's behavior towards something. So that's why you see that there's always this saying that Nigerians, when they go to UK, they obey laws, they do this, because the UK has a strong rule of law. If you break it once, you are out, right? But Nigerians, we do anyhow. And I think also our rule of law is not, as strong. There are no severe consequences for actions. So people tend to get away with those actions. So we are governed by our culture, strongly by our culture and religion, as opposed to a strong and efficient government system. A super strong one, because I think we have one that is on its way to being strengthened. So when Nigerians go abroad, they do it better. They listen to, they see traffic lights. All of a sudden, they are not blind again. They see traffic lights. They drive well. They understand the speed laws. They understand the rules, and everything. But in Nigeria, they don't. They just drive anyhow. They ignore speed limits. They ignore the traffic lights. So there's a serious, and humans, she said you have to ask, are human inherently good or they are inherently bad, right? Because I just think humans, right, if you don't put anything over their heads, they'll just do as they please. And it's for you to say, okay, we need strong laws. Because in the UK as well, you saw that when there was, for instance, in the US, you saw when there was a weak rule of law during Donald Trump's period, you saw people enter the Capitol, and they destroyed it. It's what you allow that goes. And I think we just need to strengthen, our rule of law. And if we strengthen that, we can manage behavioral problems, and also even manage leaders' behavioral problems, because they know that there are consequences to their actions. Thank you. I hope that helps. I think I've answered all your questions, right, F. Young?
Can anyone hear me? Okay.
So I did
right.
not, so for
if you can still
Godwin,
hear me,
it's not,
okay.
Yeah, so Godwin, it's not the laws, rule of law. So rule of law is a guiding principle of law, right? Let me write it. So it's a fundamental principle of laws. So it doesn't have to do with the law, right? It's a principle where individuals, institutions, and governments are subjected to accountability. So if it subjects people to accountability. So we have a weak accountability system as an individual. So it's not about the institutions. It's not nothing. Rule of law is, first of all, the first cornerstone to democracy. So it's a principle in governance. It also ensures fairness. It also prevents, arbitrary power. It prevents a lot of things. Because it's weak, so it's not able to control people and also protect the rights of people. So it's not the same as laws. So I'm happy for you to research about it. Yeah, every state has a rule of law. Thank you. Lisa, please.
All right, so I think those are the last questions. Thank you for an amazing class, Mom. It's always a pleasure having you. I'm sure the students have learned so much this evening. And like you said, the registration for the Latif Jakande Leadership Academy is currently ongoing. So if it's something you want to be part of, and I advise all of you to be part of it, please do apply for it. Like you said, do not disqualify yourself before you are disqualified. So give it a shot. Thank you so much, Mrs. Aisha. It's been a pleasure having you this evening, and we hope to see you in subsequent cohorts. So on behalf of the Electoral College, Thank you so much. I'll just allow the students on mute so that they can tell you thank you themselves, and then we'll call it an evening.
Okay, sure. Temitope, also please write the link for application for Latif Jakande Leadership Academy.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you have
Yeah.
any further questions, you can reach out to me on social media. I'm always
You're
happy
not
to help.
you're not responding on LinkedIn, ma'am.
Oh, okay. You reach out to me on LinkedIn. Okay, I'll check.
Yeah, me too. I've linked you.
Thank you,
All
ma'am.
right. Thank
Alright,
you.
I'll check through. So just send me a message if you have any questions. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye, Lisa. Bye-bye.